reading Blessed Aloneness, and I didn't realize, actually, while I was reading it, that it had to do specifically with a point in your transition from community to, like, actually physically alone and separate from people. And so actually one of the questions that kept coming up while I was reading it was, how does aloneness translate to being in company with other people?
We're never not alone. Everything you can talk about and see is about your aloneness. Or, in a manner of speaking, your loneliness, your aloneness, say your loneliness. We can also call it your dot point, your primal reference. So one is alone at birth. You can go deeper and say you are alone at conception. So, when the two come together, make you one. But you're always that. There's always coming together to make you one. Because that's your origin. Your reality is one. You are already one, and then you became many, and now you're trying to get back to one. Right. Such as it is. The recovery of oneness. Say, coming back to zero. Aloneness. All oneness. It's never not here. It's always here. But who operates from that? Who sees it as such? Who sees that everything and everyone around is really pointing to your aloneness? Right? And often in the context of having a business, or having busyness, having peeps around, associates, friends, relatives, companions, enemies, friends, whatever, then there may be the sense of more than aloneness, otherness, which may in fact be less than aloneness. Otherness is less than aloneness. So when all of the parties leave, when all of the noise leaves and you're left tree to grass, say, in the wilderness, say, of spirit, is aloneness more aloneness? And apparently it was, well enough to be able to write the text, Blessed Aloneness, which you are now reading.
It seems like the word aloneness, the way you use it, you could almost replace it with other words.
Well, if you have the mind to do it, you can replace it with anything. But there is basically, fundamentally, aloneness, or trueness. But you can scatter your mind into various words, if you want to do that. You can pull out more books, and pull out dictionaries and thesauruses to, have more words to play with, if you need to. But it's not about words. Aloneness is not about words. It's like a profound recognition. It's a primordial reality. Beyond description, beyond differentiation. And that's a theory for many, but it may not be for others who practice. See?
One of the phrases that was really striking, and this is just in in the opening pre-first chapter, you used the phrase, aloneness is the ear of silence. Which I just bring up because it's such a magnificent...
The ear of silence?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's profound, but it is what it is. That's why it's important to get to a deeper condition, so that that condition can speak for itself. When that condition speaks for itself, it's not like the person speaking. It's like reality speaking. Reality realizing itself. See, as it speaks for itself, which it has every right to do, right? Speak for itself. It may have no correspondence with your mental condition, your intellectual state or developmental state. So it doesn't help to try and bring it down to that state, because that's the state which, because of which, you're trying to become free. So if you keep allowing that state to keep everything down to itself, there's no freedom in that. You have to see that program. In other words, other states you need to open more to, rather than pull down into your analytical sort of dungeon of concern and, let's say, dissection. So your resistance, your refusal to be enlightened, let's say. Trying to bring it down, to reduce it to you. No, it's not a nice thing, It could be nicer things to do.
So does that maybe mean that those things that I feel like I do understand or get, I'm not getting?
Well, listen, whatever you understand is because it's true. It's not like you're doing it. So you have to get off the pot, so to speak. Because you're not doing it. You have to get off the pot of doing it. Because you're actually not doing the awareness process. It's already happening. You're just catching up with it. So you're actually catching up to what it always is and has always already been. And maybe what it can be for you as you continue to open. So beyond yourself, your self-interest, your self-analysis, your self-limitation, your self-referencing, in a manner of speaking, as limitation only. So let it speak for itself. And whatever you resonate with, feel great about it. Because then that's the truth of it right there. It's not self-importance. It's realizing self-importance. No. It's just it realizing it for itself. In everyone's case. Without that, there's no realization possible. That could be considered impersonal and universal.
So, are all of your writings appropriate for everybody?
At some stage or other, I've made that clear in the writings. They're not for everybody. They are for specific people. That could be everybody in time who are on the path, who are undergoing some kind of conscious or unconscious or superconscious purification, releasing of programs, releasing of tendencies, releasing of clinging, forms of attachment, Releasing flesh and embracing spirit beyond flesh. Let's say the space of the universe as a starting point. Space. Space, fullness. Spaciousness. Right? Spirit as space. Right? Infinite space. Good starting point. The creative process begins at the super subtle. Right? The ideas and feelings into beings, let's say. The desires and urges into beings. Coming together by unknown forces, forces unknown to themselves even, because they're involved in what could be considered conventional self-indulgent, cooperating, right. Co-interested individuals. And out of that comes this whole process of creation, creativity, procreation. So out of that zero, because obviously it came from out here and then got into them, right? The parties, the male and the female, came from somewhere, right? And then it manifested itself in your form and in this form and every form that appears. So the bottom line is that the aloneness has to do with the spaciousness, the reality itself. That's the real. So we can call it neutral, but it's not necessarily neutral. It's creative space. It's procreative space, the space of procreation, pre-creation, right? The life of pre-creation, the universe of pre-creation. And then we manifest. Are we not that at all points? And because we go back to that, how can we leave it? Right? Since it's the origin and then the ultimate goal, the zone. See? It is the heaven of infiniteness. See? Happiness, selfless happiness. So aloneness is the reality, and it is the realization at the same time. So even the word aloneness is enhancing the realization process, once properly understood. All oneness is aloneness. Yeah, so what shows up as people are not people. Is not people. There is no people in the process. There's the origin, the formless. It shows up. It's working through the form of formlessness. It's the form of formlessness, the formlessness of form. And going back to the same, infiniteness itself. But does it ever leave? It's coincident with this moment, because of the origin which is present, right? And the result which is also present, and the process is also present. Depends on where your consciousness is in the present. It can be, if it can be in the present, at all. If you can be one with it in the now, it could be helpful. Because this is aloneness. Awakening into aloneness. The aloneness of awakening. Awakeness.
So, seemingly being a recipient of this wisdom of...
Yeah, it's like a transmission. We say recipient of the wisdom. That's the transmission, right? Living it and resonating it to other peeps. See? Living it to other peeps. See? If there is such a thing. So as you were saying.
Yeah.
So you're on the receiving end, so it appears.
Yeah, so it appears.
And then you see that this is your step. This is your step. Right? Your step into the conversation and the concepts of aloneness. The blessedness of aloneness. See? Not the dilemma of aloneness, the blessedness of aloneness.
Yeah. Reminds me of the ending of a recent video where you said, I'm paraphrasing, the only way that you can understand any of this is that you already are this. Something
Right,
like
that's playing it safe. You're already being it. And now you are reflecting upon what you're already being. See? And then so what? What does it mean to you? It's a step of, let's say, progression into realization. See? From self-limitation to self-recognition to ultimately self-realization beyond self. And that's not self-realization. Because then there is the knowledge of aloneness, and then there's the being of aloneness. Say there's the knowledge about the Buddha or realization in that form, or and the recognition of that, and then there's the being of it. They may not all be the same. Say the being is beyond. The knowing is about knowing about. Right. And then the being is about the being. And no other being, and nothing else to be. See? So then the real being is beyond being and non-being as opposites. And that's an important resting point.
So it's probably been quite a few videos running that one of my more fundamental questions is, how do I ask a question when I don't have any questions, or when I don't seem to? And
the fact is, you don't ask any questions when you don't have any questions. But that's not the end of it.
yeah.
You can really ask questions when you don't have any questions. Right, exactly. That's the point.
Yeah, and where previously it seemed like most of my questions were to do with this sort of this heavy-duty mental process where I needed to be able to categorize or cognize or know in some sort of rigid, concrete way.
You poor thing.
And I feel that relaxing to the point where
understanding arises of itself. Because it's not about knowing or not knowing. See? So we're going back to the being, and the whole purpose of meditation practice, worldwide, in all ages, on all planets, it's really about entering the state of pure being. Not necessarily something you can depart from, you can separate yourself from, but you need to realize what it is. You have to fall into it in order to arise beyond it. So this is a natural state. That's why it's called a natural state. It's not called a natural state because it's a supernatural state. See, once you start exhausting certain programs and mechanisms, you start to see what is left is the natural state. So, it's like, well, I don't know anything. That's good. But now I know everything just as good. Yeah. Paradox. Point.
So this is another quote from Blessed Aloneness. By awakening into profound aloneness, sleep becomes awakeness, and awakeness becomes the truth of sleep. Both are transcended.
Why not? Obviously. Naturally. And precisely. Perfectly.
So it's been a few years since I picked this book up, but when I did, opening it to just page 1, it read like the last page of some giant spiritual tome. And this was page 1, paragraph 1. I mean, I couldn't... The technique of aloneness is the no technique. Conventional religion, like art, is a mystery system of belief and assumption techniques which are used as crutches to carry the individual from one reference to another, one practice to another, one belief-based dogma to another, or one level to another level, or higher or lower level of karmic self-limitation, but not necessarily transcendent or free being. Aloneness is no such word, technique, faith, crutch, and prop or belief system. Aloneness, beyond words, is breathless, clear light, silence, radiant sound realization. I mean, that's the conclusion, or it seems to be.
It's over, you can shut down and go home.
I've never...
That ends the session. It ends the series right there on the spot.
Yeah. I've never encountered writing like that before, that just... It's almost like it feels impossible to go on, but it does.
It's like a moment of understanding, where the everything and nothing meet, and you have simultaneous sort of cessation and awakening, dying and living simultaneously. Instantaneous rebirth and reawakening. It's good practice. All useful books, say, on wisdom, in the form of teachings or in the form of, let's say, silent transmission, are the answer, but they're also a question. So it's like the unasked question, have you realized it? Is it realized yet? Have you gone beyond realization yet? Are you done with it yet? Is realization done with you yet? That's what they say. All the great traditions, the so-called teacher, the master, points the way, directs you to what it is. And upon seeing it properly, you are doubtless. And thereafter, you are dedicated, you commit yourself to maintaining that for yourself. See? To enter the state of mastery and transcendent realization beyond any doubt. See? Regardless of what others think, see, feel, hear, know, recognize, realize, or ignore.
So, it seems like yoga, like American yoga right now, the practice of postures and asanas in groups of people, and there's usually some light or, some spiritual discussion, blessings, such things like that.
Yeah.
I guess it can be useful, but...
It's a step on the path. It's a piece of wood for the fire. Yoga is part of the path. See, the recognition, the ultimate recognition that everything you've ever done since birth is yoga. Right? It's also a step on the path. The recognition that there is a master, out of which comes the wisdom teachings throughout the universes. See, that means a vessel. So the master is a vessel. It's a beginningless, endless vessel. See? And for humans, then you want to hear that from a human. You don't want to hear it from a giraffe, but you want to hear it from a human, speaking to you like parent to child. See? Or like child to parent. Because it can be the child that's revealing it to the parent. It works both ways. Because it's not about self and it's not about appearance. So it can work any way it works. And it usually does work every way it works. See? Despite anyone. See? And as you were saying about the yoga.
Yeah. Why? For whom is that form of physical yoga useful?
For whoever is there on the spot when that's the next step for them. Whoever that is. See? There's no question about it. When you evolve to a point, you'll pick up a book and you'll see it, you read it, and you'll see that it's reflecting you. So your innermost being in some cases. Or your worst beings, depending on the book. So, And as I was saying, there's the recognition of the master as a person, and then there's a recognition of the master as a process. There's a recognition of the master as a friend. See? There's a recognition of the master as a leader. See? And there's the recognition of the master as no one. And it's all of that. Recognition of the master as a student. And the master, in fact, is all of that, all at once. Fearlessly so. Past, present, and future. And in every case, one is venturing into one's potential. Because you're not here to be victimized by circumstances, karma, from birth into society, and then more of the same, maybe more complicated and humiliating conditions for some beings. For others, very, very gratifying conditions. So it's different for many beings, but it is what it is. You're here to master it, get it behind you. That's inevitable. It's what you were born to do. See, not as a victim, but as someone who has proven to itself that it is something to get beyond. And if we're talking about human nature, that's something to get beyond. In a snap. You can prolong it and postpone it as long as you want, being stuck in your inherited river of blood programming, right? Your fears, your confusions, your dilemmas, your suffering. But you can cast it all aside like that. It doesn't exist beyond form. There's no existence of it. It doesn't exist beyond identity. It doesn't exist beyond self, thought, or mind, which is what nirvana refers to, and true heaven refers to. See, stainlessness, see, pure spirit soul being. Blessed aloneness, all oneness, all in the same. That's the way, it's through fire. The ancients used the word fire. See? And stepping into the fire, that means going up already. See? So there's no real purpose to slowing it down when that's what it is. There's no real purpose to solidifying it, concretizing what it is, see? Or snuffing the fire out. See? Rather, it should be seen as already gone, see? Everything gone up already, see? Gone up. So after the fact, see? It's like the afterburn. It means the cleansing has already occurred. What's left is not concern. What's left is liberation. Where could be any place for concern? What's left when there's liberation? And realized as such, already gone. Could there be clinging in some people about it? And materializing? Yes. Could there be? Obstructing it? Yes, of course. Could there be releasing that? Of course. Like, as soon as possible. All right, releasing that concern. See? Self. Releasing the self concerning other. See? Releasing the dualism, duality. Releasing it, kicking it to the curb already. See? It's already your darkness. And as soon as you see it, say, non-duality is better. It's already the light. See? Well, you know or you don't know. See? You're here or you're not here. It's real or it's not real for you. You know, it is or it isn't. This is the realm of duality most people get stuck in. That uses you. And when we're talking about the spirituality factor, that should be a burn process. A process of purification. Elimination. Release. Recreation. And this is what the process of the spiritual path is about, the recreation. See? The welcoming of self-death, so to speak. See? Welcome it. That means the end to limitation programming. Stepping out of the casket, blood conditioning. See? Keeping everything cool and held down, back and down. And no, don't go anywhere. Just stay right here with me. There is no me. And there's no staying here. See? And there's no not going. See? There's neither going nor not going, in a sense. See? So when you're talking about different intensities, there is none. See? It's the appearance of being used by intensity, of perception. The perception of intensity, being used by that is something more or less what? For who? For what? See? See? Ego. Minus ego is no intensity, all intensity. Gone. See? Who's afraid? There are many who question, well, is Dharma about time? Is realization about time? Or spiritual enlightenment about time? Or is it about no time? We'd have to say that's about the time of no time. The no time of time. Some would ask, well, it's really about teachings. We have to say, well, it's about the teaching of no teaching. Right? The no teaching of the teaching. And both of these are real. All of these are true. Right. What do you say? Some would ask, is it about realization? Or is it about no realization? And I would say, well, it's obviously about no realization. Right? The realization of no realization, obviously. Yeah. And many others come and say, well, is it about practice? And what is that practice? And of course, we have to say, well, practice is no practice. It is the practice of no practice. Practice, no practice. It's both. Right. And beyond that, it's neither. But before it can become neither, it has to be one and the other. Then there's such a thing as mastery, after the fact. And something to show for it, say, something to speak of it, say, something to play of it, something to know of it, something to hear of it, something to see of it, something to be of it. Good. It's never fast enough for the ego. And then, on the other hand, it may be too fast for the ego. So, oh, this is too fast. I can't give all that up. It's too soon, too quick, right? So without ego, what is it? Without ego, what is anything? So without ego, whatever that is, what is nothing? Without ego, what is ego? Without ego, what is no ego?
it seems, I guess, curious that so few people notice or have any interest in what we're talking about. Nothing. Spirit, this language, this transmission, this need.
Yeah, the real. Right.
Yeah.
The real behind all the noise, right? All the stuff, right? The source, right? The basis, the true basis, right? Reality itself. Who cares? No one cares, in truth. And it almost seems as if the whole evolutionary process is to get back to no one cares. Say, blessed aloneness. No oneness. Not all oneness, but all oneness of no oneness. And then from here, go out into the world. Do what you have to do. Get back to the studio, get back to, the kitchen, get back to, the market, get back to the usual. And then the usual is more or less handled in the spirit of nothing's happening. And no one is enjoying it. Right. Only no one enjoys this. Right. And that's what the realization is about, getting back to the no oneness of all beings, and thus the true heart of compassion. And true equality, and justice, true harmony, and true cooperation with the universe. Not as defined by personal interactions, but more as a cosmic process. Total reality itself. All dimensions. All planes, all realities. All at once. The whole purpose for space meditation, meditations on space, or like heart expanse it's called, it's really to become that, to become outside of yourself and to be the space. Because we are the space, it is the real. Space is it. It is space, infinite space. And so many of the meditation techniques are for you to breathe out into space and be going out into space, which means returning to your original condition of only space, true space, clear space, light space, sound space, peace space, true space, heart space. Heart space. Just heart space. Zero waves. Zero interest. zero vibrations, just heart space, just breathing heart space. And so on. Shoo. Yeah. Inhale Om. Exhale Hu. Inhale Om. Exhale Shu. Inhale Om. Exhale Shu. Space to space. From sound to silence. And going deeper is ordinary, because we are the deepest. Deepness. Imaginable. We are being itself. The real. Incomprehensibly so. So this is the ordinary. This is the ordinary itself. The real ordinary, which is extraordinary. And so when we're practicing meditation theory and exercises, it's about getting back to your ordinary to include the extraordinary. The not you. Space. The not self. The real. The not thought, right? The true. The not mind. The awake. Just awake. So being momentarily, simply, utterly, completely awake.